Welcome back, it's Monday once again, which means it's time for a new Necromunda miniature, and funnily enough, it's Malstrain related, which automatically means it's probably going to be pretty cool. I think this is just a thing now. I think we've basically got Necromunda Mondays, but they haven't got a good name for it. I mean, to be fair, we also had like Heresy Thursdays for quite a while, and Heresy Thursday is also not the best name either. Although, what can you even do? What can you do with Necromunda? You can just do Necromondays. That's all you need. That's what you do. That's what you do. I've branded it for you. That's for free. You can have that. Warcom team, if you're watching, you're probably not. If you were, and you want to use Necromonday, it's all yours. You can have it. You can have it. It's my gift to you. I won't even charge a consultation fee. I don't know how to do that. But, come on, Necromonday, that's got legs like you wouldn't believe. That could just be a thing that goes on forever, and it'll never get old, and it'll never be confusing, and it's impossible to, like, stumble over it if you say it quickly, which I'm not going to do. Okay, so, what a terrible intro. Again, look, we've got more Malstrain stuff. This time it's the Malstrain Alpha. Let's just take a look at the model, because then there's a vague chance that I will stop rambling about nothing, and we'll actually get to the point, which is very rare, but it does happen. Initial thoughts, right? If you've watched this far in, which you hopefully will have done, because we're not even at like the 2-minute mark yet, feels like it's been going a long time though, doesn't it? I want to know, as soon as the screen shifted over, what did you think of this? Like, just that second, that instant, because my thing with this model, I like it, I do like it. I, for some reason, just really feel like there should be more horrible carapace growths going on. I'm not sure why that is. I think it's the Malstrain Coalescence and the Gene Stealers, like the Malstrain Gene Stealers that we'd seen before. There was a lot of very excessive stuff going on with those models, and I feel like with this one, a lot of the excess has kind of been piled on in very specific places, right? So the carapace itself isn't as gnarly and mangled as what we've seen before. It's relatively tame, but there is also a lot of like horrible pustules and growths and like tumours or whatever those are. There's a lot of that going on, but it's not quite as obvious, right? It's not quite as obvious as that kind of almost like dead branch grasping feel that we got from the carapace growths on the Gene Stealers. We also have the issue of the gigantic, swollen, like overgrown arm, which looks quality. I actually really like that. I think that looks really cool. The fact that it looks like the skin or like the sort of exoskeleton bit, whatever that part is in a Tyranid, is cracked open. The fist is huge and it looks purple, and like, I know that obviously they painted it purple, but like them painting it purple gives this impression of it being swollen beyond what it should be. There's also some interesting detail where it almost looks like the hand that used to be there is still sort of present, but like embedded in the overgrown, mutated arm. That's a really, really cool detail. I like that a lot. That looks really fun. You got this almost like coral reef, a sort of like reef growth coming out of the elbow. And again, there's more of those little pustules and stuff going on. And also, now look at it. I hadn't really twigged this before, right? You've got a gigantic fist, you've got a big old forearm, really messed up elbow. The actual arm where it goes into the torso, that joint, the arm is kind of weak. Like, it's pretty feeble. It's not like chunky all the way up. It's chunky at the end, but almost like too skinny and like malnourished, even, it feels like, the upper part of the arm. But it's also really twisted because you've got little growths, little like talons growing out of it and stuff. It feels like they've really made that one particular part of this miniature really, really ugly in a good way, but then have backed off a little bit on the rest of it. Now, I don't necessarily know if that's a bad thing on reflection. I think I would definitely like a few more spikes and bits just growing out of places where bits shouldn't grow out of. But then again, that might overcomplicate it quite a bit. And also, it is echoing like the Patriarch, the current Patriarch plastic model. It even has a similar sort of pose in a way where you've got that You've got that big pipe sticking out of the ground. So there's like a nice kind of mirroring going on there. It's not exactly the same pose. It's intentionally got those little differences. And there's obviously some very big differences in the like physiological makeup of it. So you've got this little small, horrible looking head with eyes that don't really match what the Patriarch has. There's also a total lack of the big old brain going on. There's none of that, which makes it more cool. But I do like the little nod that's in there with it having the scenery it's got on the base. That is a nice touch. And you want the silhouette to be similar enough that that carries through, and maybe put in like loads of extra tall stalagmite style growths. Maybe that would confuse it a bit too much, make it a bit too visually, a bit too like noisy. It might make the silhouette a bit messed up, but not necessarily in a good way. I feel like the ribs across the chest are extra bony looking, but I don't know if that's necessarily true or if that's just me imagining it. It's hard to make out the legs, but they look super, like, withered and emaciated, comparatively. Like, they look really, really weedy, and I think there might be... Is there an extra joint going on somewhere in there, or are they just a bit longer? I think there might be just a bit more stretched, almost. Gives it a more sort of creepy feel doing it that way, though. Let's be honest, things with legs that are a bit too long for the rest of them, it's a pretty good horror trope. It comes up every now and again. I think just elongated limbs as a whole has got a nice rich tradition in scaring the hell out of people. So, yeah, I can see it. I do kind of wish the tail was in a different pose, but then that is a holdover from the Patriarch model, and I didn't like the tail on that one either. So the fact that it's the same on this one, you got no hope. You just got no hope. I feel like with this, though, having the tail longer and, like, back, so that it's not between the legs, but it's kind of curled up and around, that would have added quite a lot. It would have added quite a lot. But that's just me, and given that I wasn't a fan of that feature on the model that this is based off, I mean, what do you expect, really? Overall, I think this is pretty solid again. I think it's pretty solid. It's not as crazy as the Malstrain Coalescence. They haven't gone quite as insane as perhaps I might have wanted them to. I have to admit, a little part of me just really wanted them to go absolutely mental with the kind of mutations and the body horror aspects of this, but I have been thinking about it a little bit more, and I suppose if you have that on every single one, does that lower the impact a little bit, or is it better to have a few things that you look at and go, that's not right, and then one thing that you look at and go, that's not just right, but that's outwardly horrific, what the hell is going on? I don't know. Does it lessen the impact just having loads of them all look completely nightmarish, or do you want that ramp up? Do you want that kind of slow build? And also, would it be fair to say that this isn't nightmarish? I don't know that it would. I wouldn't want to meet it. I wouldn't want to meet it even less than I wouldn't want to meet the normal one, because it's just kind of gross all round. The proportions are all off. It's thick where it shouldn't be thick, and it's thin where it should look like it should be able to just move around, and it currently sort of doesn't, but it still seems pretty threatening. So I think it's fitting the bill. I think it's fitting the bill. The question is, what do you think of this lad? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things. You know the drill. I'll see you next time.